It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. Good morning to you. Looky over there, Angela Boring is back with us, 4-H educator from Penn State Extension, and our visit this morning presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Angela, good morning. You brought a couple of folks with you today.
Good morning. Yes, I brought a couple of my long-term volunteers, the Bruners, Clark and Connie. They actually have been leaders in our county for several years, volunteers in many aspects. So I thought since this is Volunteer Month in the state of Pennsylvania, we would go ahead and bring them along and talk about getting involved as a volunteer in 4-H and what that has meant to them. I know Clark just mentioned beforehand, before we got started here, that while being a member and a volunteer, he's spent a good portion of his life in 4-H.
Starting when you were a kid, right, Clark?
It is. That's the good part about 4-H. It starts now when you're 5. When I was a kid, it started when you were 8. So you have a little earlier opportunity now than we used to. But from 8, I'll give away my age here, but from 8 until present day, I've got 49 years invested in the program as either a member or a leader.
How about that?
We'll see if my wife will confess to anything at this point.
Connie, do you want people to do the math?
People can math out there if they'd like. I will just share that I've been a leader for 36 years, and it's been very fulfilling and gratifying, and we wouldn't do it if we didn't appreciate it and enjoy ourselves and want to share what we know with the future generation.
Well, for you, I know, because, Connie, we've had you in quite often in the past, and for you, if it involves kids, you want to be with them. You want to help them to grow up and to make really good things out of their life. This is the first time we've met Clark here in the program, but that's a family thing for you, isn't it?
It is. In fact, several years ago, Indiana County 4-H program had done some work with 4-H families and who have had generations involved within the program over the years. And so we happened to be one of those families because our folks were also involved in 4-H as leaders. And so we learned from them, our children learned from us, and we just hope that that will continue with our grandkids in the future and want to share that with other families as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to come back to the two of you in just a moment. But Angela, I know that with the Bruners, with so many different adult leaders within 4-H all across Indiana County and the region, really, it really is a special thing that 4-H is able to do for families and with families.
It really is. We actually have people from all walks of life, people who have all kinds of backgrounds. And I think that's one thing when we look at a volunteer or somebody says, oh, I'd like to volunteer, but they might be hesitant to do so because maybe they don't feel like their skill set matches. And honestly, if you are interested in investing in the youth coming up and you want to help them and guide them and just even just support them in finding their spark and what that might be, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the ultimate resource. You just have to be available and interested in investing in those young people in what they are interested in. So I know for some of my volunteers, they are very passionate about the programming, the very specific programming that they do. But then as they're in the program, they start to say, oh, well, I have a kid who came to me and they want to do woodworking and I've never done woodworking, but we're not going to tell them we can't do that. We're going to figure out how to make that happen. So between the resources that we have or the resources that are available to us all out there in the world, they make the connections and get that child what they need so that they can kind of grow in that space. And we also have youth that we are working with, and they are like, we call them kind of teen teachers or teen leaders, and they're sort of volunteering, mentoring those younger youth. So even though they're in the program now or they're right at that age of getting out in the next year or so, they're mentoring the youth underneath them as a volunteer as well. So we have kind of a real nice situation with that.
Yeah, Connie, you don't have to have a kid who's in 4-H or have a kid who is still in 4-H. You don't age out of the program just because a child might.
That's correct. There are lots of people in Indiana County who have special gifts that they might want to share with others. So you don't have to have a kid in 4-H. Sometimes it depends on your history and your background or what your interests might be. If there's things that you're good at and want to share, like Angela mentioned, woodworking. Clark and I both are really active right now in shooting sports. So we've both been hunting for many years and want to share that passion we have with others. Shooting sports is in high demand, but if there's other interests that people have, it could be expressive arts if you're good with crafting. Lots of kids want to paint or do photography. That falls under expressive arts. So there's lots of categories. If you have a passion for it and you want to share what you enjoy doing with others, then 4-H is a place for you to share that.
Absolutely. Clark, think back 49 years to when you were just starting out in 4-H. I'm sure that you had some wonderful mentors for you who have sort of guided you through, and probably some of the lessons you learned then are lessons that are key to you now.
Absolutely true. Whenever I started, of course, that was the 1900s, last century, and things were slightly different back then. But
did they have electricity?
It just was coming to town.
No.
Yes, Blairsville was just getting lit.
Nice.
And what's interesting about the timeline that Connie and I have been in the program is we have learned that our parents were involved, as she said, as well as other people in our family. So it's generational at this point. And the point behind that is each person, no matter what their skill set is, has the ability to bring a positive youth development. They have that ability to bring something to the table, whether it be electronics or whether it be farming, it doesn't matter. And that's the great part about 4-H. It gives you that hands-on, that ability. Like Connie and Angela said, you don't have to be a jack of all trades. You just have to bring to the table the gifts that you have been given and share with the youth. And that's what makes a difference in their life. That's that positive impact that they have. And we could have an all-day show talking about those people involved making that impact in my life, for sure.
Absolutely. Angela, the other day on our walk, we came across two young guys, probably in the 8 to 14 year age range. They're walking their pigs already.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's time, isn't it, to
it's
get rolling?
time. They're getting ready. They got to practice up. You got to work with them all year. You can't just show up at the fair and expect that animal's going to do what you want it to do. Mm-hmm. That is not how it works. But they do work with their project animals or their projects throughout the entire year. Some things are short term. They may do them for a month or two and then move on to a new activity or something that also interests them. But some things are year long. You get that animal in the spring, you raise that animal, you take it to the fair, you get sort of a light reprieve while you decide what you're going to do, and then you're right back in it a month or two later. So for sure there is, and we have kids that come to the program that families have never had livestock. That's one thing 4-H is known for, is livestock. And they really look to those leaders in the clubs, those volunteers in the clubs, for guidance. Like, we've never had a goat, but my kid wanted a goat and we want to do goats. So what do we do now? And that's such a great resource to have people who have such knowledge or know the connections that you need to make that happen for your child, especially if it's something you're not really fluent in. Yeah. All right, we're going to run out of time here very soon. But Connie, of course, for many years with 4-H, if somebody is sitting out there right now and they're saying to themselves, you know what, I remember when I was in 4-H a couple of decades ago, I'd like to get back into it. What should they do?
Well, there's lots of ways to get connected. If you want to jump online, you can check out the Indiana County 4-H Facebook page, send a post there. The extension office can reply with how to go about becoming a leader. There are steps and processes, of course, that leaders need to take. There's screenings involved in applications, and Angela is very fluent and will help anybody who wants to be a leader through that process. But that, of course, is for safety's sake, so that we put the kids' safety at the forefront of everything we do in every project area. And so we want to make sure that leaders have a good connection with those 4-H kids. Call into the office, 465-3880. They could send emails, but we have a local 4-H office with Angela there. And if they have questions, they can be answered. Anything. Angela's a wonderful extension educator. We really enjoy and appreciate her.
Terrific. Well, Connie, Clark, thank you both for coming in to visit with us today. Angela, thank you. Good to see you again as well. And wish you the best with 4-H.
Thank you.
It's Indiana in the Morning on WCCS.
Pirates